Guys, don't let people siphon your free earth angel therapy without them doing their due diligence to maintain a certain level of accountability. And what that means specifically is that they need to show up and take whatever the feedback is. There's a feedback loop. They need to be able to handle that with a certain level of maturity. And if that is missing from the equation, then they cannot exist in the blessing that is your examination, your opinion, or your healing. Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette. This is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath. It's so good to share and share with you. Come on in. Thank you for inviting me in. Let us begin. This is just a quick download. Literally, I just finished my meditations, and you can hear I have my very morning voice. And I want to tell you guys this. The angels just, whew, it flashed right across me. And I thought, that is powerful, because that was what was amiss in a lot of situations that I'd had in my life, where people wanted access to the things that were shiny and bright as we're leaving the holiday season, but they didn't want to be accountable to shine the light, which is on their actual idiosyncrasies and areas that needed to be tightened up. Maybe they never had anybody connect with them that way. Maybe they never had anybody speak to them and offer any level of constructive criticism that wasn't just completely negative. If I'm in someone's life, I'm stepping in because I want there to be edification and uplifting. And I understand that my energy, I've now learned to understand how I'm perceived. So maybe that's a little message for you regarding your own reality, personality, how you may come off to people. Are you sharp? Are you hard? Are you this or that? But here's the thing. Words are my refuge. And so I don't use them to abuse. I use them to transmit and to uplift. Even if it feels like it's something that is to someone's detriment. You know, I grew up Christian. The Lord loves who he chastises. God spanks my butt all the time. He'll tell me, no, you're out of line. He'll let me run into a brick wall repeatedly till I get the message, until I see. He'll make me go on that loop until I choose myself. And I choose to do what is for my highest good, and maybe for the highest good of all. So any earth angel here knows that. I feel like that is not something that needs to be said, but I'll say it for maybe people that are new to their spiritual journey. You'll find the more you move with integrity, the less you get away with. Okay, the less you're allowed to be on some BS to whatever degree. I don't care if it's not putting the can fully into the recycling bin when you're at the park. Okay, so that's what my angels will work on, is refining my heart in the most minuscule ways. Not everyone can handle that, so obviously you're not going to go in with that level of expectation as someone who is a newbie to any kind of accountability. But the thing is that people like to do this trick. They want what is your gift, your blessing, your earth angel stimulus package. They want it. They want access to it. They like how when you're around, you make them feel. They like the deal of all of that. But what they don't like is when you might be like, hey, you need to tighten this up. Also, the reason you might be saying that is because you are able to see where if they tighten that one thing up, even in absence of you being present in their life, they could accelerate and skyrocket into the light exactly how they want to. A lot of people, because they are being selfish, because they are so inwardly focused, and that's fine. I can be selfish too. I love that, and it's something that I have purposely chosen, especially in the last couple of years. But what I'll tell you is that because they are operating out of, like, I would say, a matrix level of selfishness, not for the sake of like isolation or hermiting or protecting one's energy. You guys as earth angels, I love talking to you guys. Have I told you that? Have I told you lately that I love you? I really love having a community that I don't have to, that gets it, y'all. Like, I explain it because I'm a teacher and someone here may not get it, but every one of you listening gets what I'm saying. They may never have been held to a certain level, but when we're as earth angels, you know what it is. We just don't get away with the shits. We don't get away with it. And so I'm not ever coming to someone's life to be like, you do this, this, and this. What I will do is edify. And that's on the positive. And if I need to examine something, I'm going to be as gentle as I can be so they can get it. I understand how powerful my words are. And that's something that my angels have challenged me with. Now, people have tried to malign me by having me silenced, okay? Because my words were offensive to them, meaning any level of chastising was offensive to them. They are rampant at the mouth in the matrix, gossiping, slandering, smear campaigning. But real accountability that was a spiritual up-leveling for them was offensive. And okay, I get it. We all take our time to evolve. But people would be like, your words, Monette, your words. Yeah, my words. My words, exactly. My words were words that they're words that are channeled. Not every day, not every moment, not everything I say is some kind of rhema word. I am not insane, but what I am is connected, and I am spiritually paying attention, and I'm grounded. And so I'm not ever trying to bring pain. I'm trying to bring clarity, whatever that may be for whoever is in front of me. Well, Earth Angel, when you're around people that don't ever self-check and they're just getting away with it, I literally have found myself in the last 5 years of my life being like, who raised y'all? I am baffled by some of the toxic, immature behavior that I saw in grown-ass adults, people that were in their 30s. Nobody was in their 20s. I'm really proud of some of my 20-year-olds that are moving with maturity. Shout out to some of y'all. But it was wild. Oh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. That's what I'm channeling. It's a wild world. And what does the next stanza say? Gotta get by without a smile, girl. Maybe some people were able to beguile their way out of, or charm, that's the word I'm channeling, their way out of accountability. But that's the thing. When people are dispatched into your life, or you're dispatched into their life, guys, then accountability is what they will see. Don't let people try to convince you to be quiet because it hurt their fifis. They needed their fifis hurt. And one of the things that I have observed is that I'm channeling Kanye. I wish that didn't work. It's some song where it's kind of nonsensical, so it doesn't make sense. But the word that I keep hearing is work, okay? And I feel like when you are in these situations with people, you are helping them to understand their true value and worth, and they have to put in the work, and they don't necessarily want to put in the work because that's uncomfortable and they feel like it will hurt. So instead of looking at what you're bringing up, whatever that may be, or you saying like, hey, take a look at this, or hey, you're hurting me. Maybe you're in a relationship. I'm channeling, I don't know who this is for. I'm channeling a romantic relationship. You love someone passionately, man, passionately, but their own demons are inhibiting them from seeing the full potentiality of whatever it is that you can see from your purview of maturity, okay? I'm channeling this specifically for a man and a woman, okay? So this is a heterosexual relationship. This may be something that someone of you guys listening today has gone through, where you could almost talk someone through something or walk someone through something, but they were not willing to really listen to you because they were maybe not on the same spiritual level as you, even if they were spiritual. Does that make sense? I don't know. That might be for someone there. But what I'm saying is people will not give a care when you're caring so much because you want them to be the best that they can. What I will say is, in your absence, they will understand, especially if it was a true spiritual assignment. That is the litmus test. If it was a real spiritual assignment, they will introspect, they will examine whatever was happening, they will understand where maybe the error of their ways were, and if they choose to evolve, they can. But it will just be without you holding their hand. Us holding the hand is kind of a sweet deal, I'm not going to lie. As an earth angel, we are able to foresee things and pitfalls and see demons around people and stuff like that. But I know, because dying to the flesh isn't easy, it's hard to release people when you have codependency. And so any kind of observation about interpersonal dynamics or whatever, especially if it's their safety net, that's going to be a challenge for them. That's where the angels have led me, through compassion, to have mercy on a lot of people and grace, because they, especially if they are meeting an earth angel, and let's say you have your doctorate in whatever and they are just in junior college, they're just never going to understand why releasing someone who feels like the safest thing or the only thing they've ever known is the right way to go. Or putting boundaries. Maybe it's not always a release. That's not what I'm in anybody's life to do. Boundaries, though, is what I'm always in someone's life to do. And it doesn't matter what level of connection you have with somebody, boundaries are always necessary, okay? So don't let people trick you, one, into silencing yourself because they're offended, because they just want you to shut up, because that's what you're there to do. Two, don't let them make you do their homework too. And what I mean by that is, just because you can see spiritually what's going on with them, and then you can offer feedback or walk them through or talk to your blue in the face. How many of you guys have ever had those conversations with people where you're just like, we're not getting anywhere? Or someone is uncomfortable with a level of accountability, so they just want you to shut up. I had a situation like that in my life where I thought that I was dealing with someone who really loved me, platonic friend, and I really thought that she cared about me. She was always so happy for me, and what I discovered is that she was a contingent friend, and that meant that contingent upon whatever level of success I was accessing, she was comfortable or uncomfortable with that. She showed me her ass and her true colors when I was moving how I wanted to move and bringing comfort to my life. It was like, truly, I've talked about this, that she wanted me to be the emotional help. Right? That doesn't mean that she didn't do wonderful things for me. But what it means that when it came to the heavy lifting, she was like, shut up and be quiet. Aren't you happy here? You have everything. And she wasn't listening that I was uncomfortable. Also that I wanted to have a life. Sometimes, and that was, I know that was about me, but it was also a reflection on her level of codependency and something she had probably avoided working with for the duration of her entire life. This was something that I could see playing out in all the pockets and facets and areas of her life where she would hang on and just not want to really deal with the real thing, as long as she was in the position of power. But it was like, you know what? Just be happy. Just like stop complaining. She didn't want resolution. I went into some of these conversations thinking like, we're going to talk about this and then she's going to get it and then she's going to adjust behavior. No, she wanted to talk about it, not really, and then have me just shut up and stop complaining and then go back to heavy lifting her emotions and her being her free therapy. And the thing about it is she did pay me for reading. She did do things. I'm never going to come on here and lie, but I'm talking about the day to day to day to day to day. The very first thing we started talking about was the thing that actually broke up the relationship, because she never learned to process in herself what was happening and the thing she always wanted advice about. Anyway, the point in me saying that is, don't let people trick you into giving them your gift. And by that, I mean your solution-oriented way of processing and transmuting things, when they don't want to have any real accountability or to enjoy the fruit that brings. When you really look at something, you're like, whoa, this is something I'm doing. I've had a lot of deep introspection, and even though people were treating me crazy, I had to ask myself, why did I put myself around this again? What about me wanted to have this experience repeatedly? What about me didn't love myself enough to understand that someone can trick you initially, but then if you keep going along, you're co-signing the plan? So there's nothing that I say here to you that I haven't walked through in every single excruciating and painstaking way. But people will be like, what do you think about so-and-so? Or what do you think about this and that? And then you offer your opinion or you give your whatever. And you never know. You could be hitting a button. They could be greatly offended because it is a threat to their security blanket. Or they could hear it but not really want to do anything about it because it's so much work. My mandate today, this morning, whatever. It's literally 3 a.m. So that's why it's tonight for me somewhat still. But my mandate this morning, today, tonight, whenever you hear this, is that you understand that it's not your obligation to forever hold their hand, and that sometimes you are to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee and get out like Muhammad Ali. You are to stand on business. Muhammad Ali was known for his loquacious and funny energy. He was so smart, brilliant, and he would take people to task on these interviews and television shows and they were, so fascinated by him because there was something that he did know. He had this air and panache about him. And it wasn't just about his charm and magic. It was truly that he was spitting wisdom at people if they were willing to catch it. And they could be offended. And he was penalized and punished for taking his stances in ways that he wanted to do. But that is you. That's the energy that I'm channeling. As I said, that's the truth. That Muhammad Ali, that float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Sometimes people need the medicine and they don't need the coddling and the, oh, I see you, sweetie. But don't let them have you forever do their emotional work when, one, they're not valuing your worth, and two, they're not really internalizing it to change. Often, what my angels taught me is that when I leave, that's when, if they really want to up level, they can. Now they can do it, but it's just not going to be with you holding their hand again. And they don't need you to hold their hand. That was what they chose. That's the beautiful thing about life, is we have free will. It's always choose your own adventure. No matter how you feel, it's always choose your own adventure. And those people voted with their bad behavior, with their ingrained habits, with their toxic energy, whatever it was. It's not always the height of toxicity. It's not always the most abusive thing you've been in. But if it makes you uncomfortable too, then maybe it's time for you to examine that and figure out what you're supposed to do. But you're not supposed to stay there forever and be there trauma bonding dumping grounds. That's really the way that I see it now. It's not your job. We all have a mandate to evolve. Just because the years chronologically tick by doesn't mean that matches our maturity internally. And you can waste a lot of your life trying to make people catch up to where you are with your spirituality. And that's something that the angels showed me glaringly throughout my lifetime, but really concentrated in the last few years of mine. And so I pass that message on to you today. Not just in your face, do not let them play. Y'all know I'm good for that. But really, truly understand the mechanism of what's happening, which is that they want what they see that you embody, but they're not willing to hold boundaries, have the hard conversations, communicate with the people that they're around. And they may throw you under the bus. Sometimes when I'm giving this great advice to people, they're using it to pillow talk, even if they're not in bed with the person, just pillow talking, figuratively speaking, with whomever. Because, can you believe they said that? Can you da-da-da? Because in the Matrix, whatever breadcrumbs of energy that they can sweep up, they're going to get. And they'll throw you under the bus and use you as a scapegoat to do it. So whenever I sense that, Jess, you listening today? When I move, you move, just like that. I listen to what the angels have to say. The angels will always tip me off and say, your therapy is going not just on deaf ears, but it's also keeping you stuck here. That's the greatest danger of all of that trauma bonding therapy energy, is that you may end up in a rut because that's their station. And that's not your station, but people's energy rubs off on you. Their energy signature becomes a part of you. I saw a beautiful demonstration. I'll see if I can find it and link it below for the teaching aid today, but it was a visual of lemons. That one was moldy, and they were saying, like, you become who you're around. And they set all 3 little lemons on these little baby chairs, and they put it in a encapsulated thing and did a time lapse, and then you watch the mold spread across all the lemons, and then someone in the comments said, like, why didn't the yellow lemons turn the moldy lemons yellow or whatever? Well, that's not how it works. People that are corrosive will usually infect you. I had a really great demonstration, actually, when I was in the cult. Always something to extract from even the worst situations, where they stood on a chair, and a pastor stood on the chair, and he was like, now come up here with me, or pull me down. Whatever the demonstration was, essentially it was to show it's so much easier to pull someone down than it was for him to pull another person up on that chair with him. And that's what happens when you are advising someone again and again and again, and they're not really trying to make a change. They become an energy vampire. They like your time. They like your attention. They might like the clever things you say if you're Muhammad Ali in that way to them. but they don't really want to institute any change, and they want the status quo. They do not really want to grow, and so then they don't need to grow. They can't be with you. They can't be part of whatever it is, and they may really stymie you. And that's something that I experienced personally. It was a super powerful lesson for me, where I was in a friendship that stymied me. And I know that because as soon as I released the friendship unapologetically, by the time I was done, I was over it. And when I released it, there wasn't anything that I wasn't able to manifest. And I was like, what? It was like a dam breaking. You know, when a dam breaks, there's this incredible pressure when the dam breaks because it's been built up. That's how my blessings started to come in. That's how everything I ever wanted happened for me. That's how dreams that I didn't even think were fathomable started coming true. And I thought, there's no way this one person was a blessing blocker for all of these things that I was praying to have come true. And my angel said, there is in fact a way that this exact person was the thing that was hindering you, because you were giving all of your energy to solving problems she didn't really want to solve, to helping her be whatever in a place that she had no intention to leave. And she was also wishing for your things not to come true too. That's another message another day. I have tons of them here. The point is, do not let people use your therapy for free just because they like the way you make them feel, but they have no grounding in their own spirituality. And it reminds me of the group project and people copying off of your work and taking credit and getting the A. She might be able to get the A, but in my presence, she can't stay. And also, because she passed the test in my absence, she wouldn't. And so there are a lot of reasons to take your power back. When I selfishly reinvested into me, I was able to start to move along and accelerate the things that were part of my destiny. Not everybody wants to see you happy. People all have their own agenda. People come from different families and different levels of weird codependence. You never know, you know? You never know what you're really dealing with. And even if you know what you're dealing with, it's very easy to get caught up in the undertow. It's very easy to have the mold come onto you. I'll tell you another thing, too, about energy signatures. To be very fair, there were times in my life when I was... This is 2:22. I was on the timer. There were times in my life, which has to do with relationships and partnerships, where I was seeing someone who didn't like themselves, wasn't treating me right, had a weird sense of entitlement. It was perplexing and peculiar to me, was not at all understanding after a certain point, because she'd been around me so much, you know, the earth angels to me. She thought it was all her, I'm sure. I'm so sure. In my absence, I'm sure she's clear too. Doesn't mean she doesn't have her own magic and her own sparkly juju. It just means it wasn't gonna... I was opening a fire hydrant, truly. But her energy was getting on me. And I was friends with somebody else. And I remember that friend not liking me during that time, being so mean to me. But to be fair... even though it wasn't a conversation we were able to have fully, because she was trying to just silence me, and she didn't realize I was happy to take accountability. She didn't like me. She didn't like the person, but I didn't give a damn about that, because the person really didn't care for her either way. You understand? It was like, I'm not messy like that, truly. Meaning, the person had whatever her opinions were to herself. I never do, honestly. But the point is that the person's energy signature was on me. It was like the lemons. My angels just said that. Someone here needs to hear that. We're not always right. I don't know how she was perceiving me, because I know I was in someone else's energy. It's not to say that my friend and I would not have come to this impasse. I feel like this was someone who was sent into my life for a perfect storm moment, because there were some things that needed to be completely destroyed so that I could rebuild. It was a tower moment, literally. But if I break it down to the sociological perspective and the psychological perspective, rather, I understand why she grew uncomfortable with me, because she didn't recognize my energy signature. And honestly, I didn't like who I was becoming with the person that I was seeing. The person that I was dating, she was causing a lot of issues, and y'all have heard me talk about them here. But the point in me saying that is, sometimes you do have to look at yourself too and say, whoa, what is off here? Now, I think that there isn't anything that can't be fixed with real conversation and communication that's honest, but that's only if people want to be honest. And so it's not a conversation I ever got to have with her because she battened down the hatches of fuckery in so many other ways that I wasn't able to be like, I totally get why you were uncomfortable, not just because of jealousy and all the rest of the other lower nature things, jealousy, bitterness, that's all stuff we can be privy to. But yeah, I imagine that I was foreign to you. And that's fair, guys. You're allowed to just like live and understand. We don't always get every moment right, but what I understand from above it, I always try to look at things like a hawk, is that, or an eagle in flight, is that everything was perfectly orchestrated so that I could have my freedom and also take my power back. But in that dynamic was an endless loop of this therapizing energy in a very specific situation where she didn't really want to be free. It was a waste of my time, and it was a waste of my words, because it's not like anything's going to change. And so I had to like really examine my own worth and stop driving myself insane. Don't let people trick you into carrying all that for them and then convincing you not to move along in your life to whatever degree because they want you by their side being their free therapy. It's not fair. And so people will do that to you, and you notice it, whether it's a coworker or this or that or whatever. What do they offer you? Are they playing fair with you? And what I mean is a reciprocal exchange was that she was not okay with me taking the vacation, quote unquote. Like, I'm thinking about a boss, literally, who's like, you can't get your PTO. Well, wasn't that the agreement? You know, she wasn't okay with so many things that she was acting like she would have been. She was quite cavalier and disrespectful, not just in what she was saying, but how she was behaving. And yet I'm there understanding for her, overstanding. This is when we get into toxicity as empaths. Overstanding. When you were 7, when you were 4, this happened to you, this person did this, da 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 da. I was giving her all of this like 360 grace, and she was so, every time I was like, I would like to do this, or like the PTO, or like whatever, she was like, get the fuck out of my face. She was so rude to me in ways that she may not only in retrospect see, or she'll forever be on demon time and hate me. And good luck. I don't care. Sometimes you have to sign up to be the villain, but get the fuck out of there. Stop giving people all of that energy when you can use it for you selfishly and you are guided to. Also, it's a delight in my life when I see people hear what I say and they flourish because they see things a new way. And life is short. It reminds me, is it Maury May? I'm totally butchering this. It's a Latin phrase from Marcus Aurelius, which essentially means remember you will die. Sorry, that's so macabre, but that is something that I think about. The English translated version is something that floats through my mind, and something that my angels put me face to face with so many times in the last several years, which had me stop a lot of my toxic, ridiculous behaviors of overgiving as an empath and being so available for people that literally didn't give a damn about what my needs were unless push came to shove. And so remember you will die. You're not here forever, love. And so think about all that time you're investing in someone who really doesn't want to hear you, doesn't want to understand you, doesn't want to take the real advice from you, but just wants you to speak. And they only want you to speak in a certain way. And don't you put your mouth on this person or that person. And I don't give a damn. I'm there to blow it up. I'm there to blow it up because there are things that I can see that if you were to fix this or adjust this, you could live your most optimal timeline in destiny. And I love people, even if they don't love me. And I want them always to be free. So part of my ethos personally is to remove my energy and that free therapy. Just me being there is a transmuting agent of therapy. You need to know that about yourself, Earth Angel. So sometimes you're like, well, I stopped talking, but whatever. I tried it too. I was like, okay, well, here's a boundary I'm going to set with you. And she was a fucking nightmare on Elm Street. And it's because she was like a baby. Like, you're going to not feed me? No, I fed you enough. And you have your own cup. And like Marcus Aurelius reminds us, remember you will die. Keep that in your mind. Tuck that feather in your cap. Yankee Doodle. Call it macaroni. I don't care. But remember, homie, you're not here forever. The sun don't shine forever, but as long as it's here, then we might as well shine together. If someone doesn't want to work with you together, they don't want to evolve with you, they don't want to take the advice from you, then there's nothing you can do. You can lead the horse to water. You cannot make people get out of their toxic patterns, relationships, and attachments. But you can be an example and say, you're just not going to live life in an exuberant and abundant way if you stay. Whatever stay is, okay? Everybody's situation is different. Not everybody's leaving something. It could just be that they got to fix some bad habits that they may have, a little cleanup on all 10, all 9, whatever. It's okay. But people will see that and think, oh my goodness, she's saying all these words and she's so mean and whatever. No. And I'm so sick of that. Because no, you're not mean, Earth Angel. They came to you, probably loved you, but then they didn't want to do the real work that you were mandated in to do. Not everyone is as deep as you. That's what I realized too. And that would offend them too, but it's the truth. The lie detector says it's a lie. The evidence is there. If people are so offended by your spiritual introspection, then they cannot breathe your rarefied air. And that's the damn truth. They'll want to talk you into it or out of it 7 ways from Sunday, dull you down, have you stop saying the things that you were here put on earth to say, only for you to be right. Anyway, they'll figure out you're right later. That's what I always tell people when I'm out of there. I'm like, okay, well, you just figure that out. You know, I'll talk to them while I'm there. When I leave, I leave. I am modeling after Christ, like a thief in the night. Adios. I don't do too much, especially once I've talked blue in the face, because I realize that my time may be short, so I don't have a lot to waste. And I don't want you to have some of the physical issues that I have in order to get your bearings about that. So if you feel like you have a vampire that's siphoning your energy, but they don't really want to evolve, they just want to be a brat, leave them where they're at. And don't feel guilty. You did your work. You stung like a bee. So the antidote is in them to whatever degree. And if they are truly seeking any level of grounding in their spirituality, they'll do it in absence of you, sweetie. They will. And they'll remember your words too. Those same words that were so horrible and so dangerous and so overwhelming will be the words that will echo in their brain for the rest of their life. That is a guiding light to help set them free. And I consider that good work if you can get it. It's a much healthier way to be. All right, guys, so good sharing energy with you. Come back and join me next time. We'll continue to evolve together.